Hey there, welcome. My name is Alonda Carter, and I am the Recovering Hunbot. I create anti-MLM, that's anti-multi-level marketing videos, and I also do dip my toes into true crime, and I've crossed on over into the world of white-collar crime, looking into fraud. So if that interests you, stick around. To make things as simple as possible, I'm using the term multi-level marketing, but there's other words that are used to describe the same overall type of structure, such as direct sales, network marketing, and social selling. But like I said, I'm making it easy. I'm using one word, multi-level marketing. Well, it's two words, but one phrase, whatever, you know what I mean, right? What is actually called isn't all that important. It's the overall structure, and they're all structured very, very similarly. Once you start looking at these type of business opportunities, you start seeing that pattern. It's like, oh, this is just like this. Oh, it's just like this one. Like I said, they're just all alike. Today, I am going to, I guess, respond to some training, and I'm using training very loosely. I don't know why I'm doing air quotes. I just felt the need to do that. I think it's because as an instructional designer, that means somebody who designs and develops training. When I look at all the multi-level marketing training that's out there, I just get a headache because I'm like, this is not training. It's usually some kind of like a raw pep rally kind of a thing, in my opinion. So the person that we're looking at today, his name is Josh Coates. And for some reason, whatever that reason may be, he tends to really focus on Beachbody coaches. Have you ever heard of him? And just so you know, in case you don't, I'm a former Beachbody coach myself, hence, recovering Hunbot, that thing. This video is based on my research experience and opinion. Please, as always, do your own research, do your due diligence. If you're thinking about, joining this push coach, you'll want to look at all the facts, not just, what's being handed to you from your upline or something like that. The person who signed you up, that person that's above you. Also, be kind to each other in the comment section. I mean, the world could use more kindness, and be kind to me as well. And I wanted to give a quick shout out to my most recent patron, Maru Santiago. Thank you so very much for joining my Patreon. If you're interested in supporting me on Patreon, there is a link on my banner and also in the video description. And also a big thank you to all of you who just continue to watch my videos. I appreciate it so very much. According to Josh Coates' LinkedIn profile, he attended Ozarks Technical Community College, and he also holds a certification from John Maxwell in speaking, teaching, and coaching. He describes himself as a leadership speaker, coach, and trainer on the John Maxwell team. Also, he is the owner of Josh Coates Push Coach. Allegedly, he is a best-selling author and a mentor to the stars. Some things he offers includes a 21-day recruiting challenge with a price tag of $79. He also offers a 5-day mindset challenge for $37.99. And he also has a course in the art of recruiting, which is $149. And he offers a mastermind group, which is a monthly subscription for the price of $180. What I found to be the most interesting is that certification from John Maxwell. Have you ever heard of him? According to Wikipedia, John Maxwell is an American author, speaker, and pastor who has written many books that focus on leadership. He served as a senior pastor at Skyline Church for 14 years. Currently, he is a teaching pastor at Christ Fellowship in Florida. Also, he is a guest pastor at Crystal Cathedral in Orange County, California. Maxwell was mentored by the evangelic pastor Robert Schuller. Maxwell speaks to various Fortune 500 companies, international government leaders, and diverse organizations, which I find a bit disturbing. It almost feels like he goes to witness at these events and to bring people into his flock. Maybe that's just me. This video is not a deep dive into Josh Coates nor John Maxwell, although I think it would really be interesting to do a deep dive on Maxwell. Let me know what you think. For some reason, the televangelists, those are the ones that really interest me. And I want to say that Maxwell is one, but I can't remember. I did a little bit of reading on him, but not extensively because this isn't a deep dive. My gut is telling me that Coach just takes whatever, Maxwell has said and repackages it. And just from short Googling, there appears to be other coaches similar to Coates who have their own programs. Also, once you become certified by Maxwell, you can use his materials to teach others because now you are a John Maxwell team member. But when you read in Coates' LinkedIn profile, you're thinking he's part of the team of John Maxwell, but you're not. It seems like you're just kind of out on your own. Again, repackaging everything that Maxwell teaches. If you have ever wondered about why MLM conferences seem so much like a religious extravaganza, perhaps knowing Coates' background with Maxwell gives you a bit of perspective. Many Beachbody coaches are very religious, so I'm very sure that whatever Coates says speaks to them at a very deep emotional level and a very personal way. Nonetheless, coaches like Coates are part of the overall problem with the MLM industry, in my opinion. What you are taught keeps you more psychologically entangled in the belief that as long as you work hard and don't stop, you will be rewarded with time freedom and financial freedom. And now, with all of that as a backdrop, let's go ahead and check out this training call together. I'm going to take some notes as we are viewing this, and I'll throw in my 2 cents, what I'm thinking from, here and there.
For having me. I appreciate it. Lynn's reached out and was like, hey, do you want to, one of the girls on my team has your book? I'm like, let's roll, man. Let's do this. So how many people have the book? How many of you have the book so far? Love it, love it, love it, love it. It's okay. The rest of you, we still love you. You're still my friend too. It's okay. If you haven't already, you can get a free copy at joshcoates.com. If you live in the U.S., we don't ship outside of the U.S. Amazon does. You can get it on Amazon in any country. Or if either A, you don't want to pay $6.99 for shipping because your checking account is negative right now, or B, you live outside of the United States, or C, you just really would want the audio book because you're like, I don't read physical copies of books, you can go to, let's see here, www.joshcoates.com/audiobook, and you can just download the audiobook for free. We don't have to charge shipping for that because obviously we don't have to ship an audiobook. If you get this at my website, the audiobook comes with it for free, so you'll be gold. So ask Lindsay, what do you think about just like a live rundown of the book? And she said she was down for that. So tonight we're gonna go through the 4 M's in kind of like more of like a live version, which is gonna be like the highlights. Tonight is gonna be like the Sports Center highlight reel of the whole season. And those of you that have never read the book, this will give you like a really awesome introduction into what it's all about. Okay, so for those of you who don't have any idea who I am, maybe I should just do like a real quick intro. I joined the John Maxwell team 6.5 years ago. My whole first year. Check this out. Do you want to hear how amazing I was from the get-go? My whole first year, I made 2 sales. 2 sales in my first 12 months. And I can still remember driving in my Nissan Xterra. I just been detailing cars all day on a Saturday. And even though I hated it, I was excited because I knew I was doing something. I was going to lead somewhere one of these days. And I remember driving my car. I was frustrated, but I was excited. And I made a promise to God. I said, when I figure this out, not if, when I figure this out, I promise you I will spend the rest of my life helping other people to figure this out. Because when your business isn't working, when you found something that you're really incredibly passionate about, that you love with literally everything in you, and it's not working, it's like the most frustrating thing in the world. Anyone agree? And show me some Since we're all muted, I know no one can like give me any verbal, so I ask for jazz fingers, okay? That's the way I know you're here, you're with me, we're doing this thing together, okay? It's the most frustrating thing in the world. And I didn't want anyone else to ever have to go through what I went through. I believe that one of the greatest gifts we can give other people is to go through the struggle and pass off the lessons so that they don't have to struggle with the things we struggled with. It's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about my business, because I watched my parents struggle with money their whole life. I struggled with money throughout my whole 20s. And at some point at the age of 29-ish, I said, I don't want to pass this struggle off to my kids. I'm going to do something about this. Like, I'm going to do whatever I have to do to figure out this money thing so that my kids don't have to ask me 30 years from now if they can borrow money to buy their kids school clothes, because that's where I was at. I was literally every single year when school came around hoping and praying that my mom would notice that my kids were still wearing old clothes. I didn't want to tell her I couldn't afford to buy them school clothes, but we were really close with my parents, and I was just hoping they would just notice. My mom would usually, in a real polite way, hey, have you got the kids' school clothes yet? And I'd be like, no, I haven't really done it yet. I just haven't had the extra money. She'd be like, that's okay. I'll come pick them up tomorrow, and I'll take them shopping for some new clothes. And I would be so relieved to know that my kids were going to get new clothes because I couldn't afford it. Now, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on this call, but that makes me feel like shit. To not be able to buy your own kids clothes for school. Like, I can handle being poor, you know, like I'm okay with that. I don't need a lot of like nice things. It's fun to have them, but I don't like need them. But seeing your kids, that's like a whole nother level of emotions. And so I made the commitment, like, I'm going to figure this out. I don't care how hard I have to work to do it. I'm going to figure it out. And when I do, I'm going to teach other people how to figure it out. I'm going to save them time and energy and pain and help them to fast forward so that they don't have to deal with as much pain as me. So what I'm teaching you tonight, I believe personally, is like this book, I literally poured my whole heart and soul into this book. I said, I'm literally going to leave nothing like when I'm done with this book, I don't even know what else I'll ever say or write, because I'm going to give everybody everything, and I'll trust that if God has something more for me to say, I'll learn something in between now and then and have something new to say. But this, I believe, this is what success looks like, and not just as a network marketer, but especially for a network marketer. You know, I do believe that there are other businesses where you don't have to lead a team, and maybe you don't have to learn as much about leadership. But how many of you can say network marketing is tough? Because I got to be, how many of you noticed? Take some notes over here. We have to be the brand model. That's the one I'm real bad at. I just still haven't figured out how to smile without being awkward for a picture. I just don't know. The filter does not make my smile any less awkward, no matter how hard I try. You gotta be the brand model. You have to be the marketer. You gotta do your own marketing. Okay, so you're the marketing department. You have to be the copywriter. These days, you have to also be the hip-hop dancer / music video producer. You'll watch my stories. You won't see much of that. I haven't figured that one out either. And then on top of that, you got to lead a team, right? So what I've tried to do is condense it down into compartments. For me personally, if you can just help me figure out which lane I'm in, like that helps me to think a little bit more clear about what I currently need to do, because if we're not careful, all of that stuff, all of it, it's mixed together inside our head. And if you're not careful, you'll find yourself in the kitchen, cooking dinner, trying to remember who you were supposed to respond back to, while also thinking about whether or not you've already taken a picture of what you're cooking for your stories, while also trying to remember if you really do want to call that one girl back because she does have a business question, but she's also super annoying and always drains all of your time and energy. And all your kid wanted to know is like what time we're planning on eating tonight. And you're like, we will eat when the food is ready. And your husband's like, what is going on?
Oh, goodness. Where do I even begin? Well, the first thing that he does is basically get you into his funnel because he's saying, oh, if you don't have this book, this F Leadership book, you can get a free copy. I remember Brendan Bouchard did that same thing. I'm kind of wondering, did he take a page from Brendan or where he got that idea? Because I'm sure it's not an original idea. So you can actually download a free copy, but by downloading the audiobook, you still go into his funnel because he's going to get your email address. It's all about getting people in the funnel. It's not about like, oh, I'm such a good person, I just want to give everything to everyone. This is all about getting people to think that he is the answer and he is the savior. He is the one that's going to help them explode their business. Then he mentions the 4 M's, which is part of what is in his book. Now, whatever those 4 M's are doesn't really matter because it kind of makes me think, what about Beachbody's 4 vital behaviors? If that's what you're supposed to do to be successful, why do you need his 4 M's? What's the purpose of that? Oh, leadership, because you're leading a team. So it's going to be different. But the people who are watching this are Beachbody coaches who probably don't even have a team, you know? Everybody is struggling and trying really hard. Now, something that really bugged me is, well, there's a lot, but the promise to God that once I figure out this money thing, I'm going to help other people. Do you know how many times I've heard that? That is like an old line from I don't know where, but I hear it multiple times through all of this stuff. You know, yeah, it's not new. It's not new. It's just repackaged. And then he talks about being the brand model, the marketer, the copywriter, the music video producer for stories, and on top of that, lead a team. So he strokes your ego there because you have so much to do. So much to do. But he also uses the word commitment, that he made a commitment to God so that other people will not be wasting their time. And by using the word commitment, what that does is kind of reinforces the whole idea of being committed to making your business work. The language used is all about, why do I keep saying it's all about, but I am. So let's just roll with it. It's all about getting them to stick with the program, meaning stick with being a Beachbody coach. Because if you're fully committed, you're not going to just give up.
Sometimes husbands and significant others are really, really understanding and loving, but I gotta be real, sometimes I can understand why they're not. Because we're just all over the place, all over the time. So for me, it's all about how do I simplify everything that I do, and how do I put everything into some type of a system that helps me to get predictable results. I love this quote. I don't remember if this is in my book or not, but it's such a good quote. And it says something along the lines of, with systems, even average people can get predictable results. But without systems, even talented, the most talented people in the world only get average results. Good systems give average people great results. Great people with no systems just get pretty average results. I've seen a lot of people got like 50,000 followers on Instagram, can't figure out how to make a sale because they don't have any systems or strategies. They're just really, really, really entertaining, and people love them to death, and they get all the engagement in the world, but then they get so stressed out about responding to messages They don't ever even make sales. I'm like, what are you doing over there? If I had that kind of engagement, I would make $1 million a day. A day. And you can't even hit Success Club. Like, what's going on over here? It's because she ain't got no systems. So this is, if you will, the leadership system that happens to encompass performance as well. And it's this simple. Some of you already know it, but I'm going to go ahead and type it out for you anyways. It's the 4 M's: model, motivate, mentor, multiply. The end goal, as we know, is multiply, right? The end goal is I need a bunch of humans on my team who are willing to work as hard as me. And my God, if you could even just give me one of those, like, I would be thankful for the rest of my, that's the end goal. That's what we all want, okay? And smart marketing, smart planning, smart anything always is, let's start with the end in mind, okay? It's one of the greatest things I was taught in the John Maxwell certification was always start with the end in mind. When I'm working with a one-on-one client, we don't need to talk about anything you need to fix until we know where we're trying to get to. The end always identifies what happens in between the beginning and the end, right? Like, you don't need a middle if you don't have an end. You need to know where we're going, okay? So it's like we got to start there, but then we got to rewind and ask ourselves, what is the path to multiplying? And this is the path, and I'm going to give it to you in 4 compartments, okay, so that you can figure out, like, we need a system then for each path, okay? So the first path is model, okay, model. And as I say in my book, performance or production is a leader's greatest responsibility. If I don't produce anything, why would anyone want to follow me? I kind of like joke about how in my 20s I had these, like, literally used to like lay in bed at night and like envision. I played music all through my 20s. So I was detailing cars by day, playing in bands, nights and weekends, and I would literally envision myself on stage just playing for sold out arenas full of people singing my songs, but like also couldn't get my shit together enough to like practice every single day and write a song. That's a problem. Like, no one's gonna sell out the arena to listen to a song they've never heard before, right? Grew up my whole life in a very, very, very church religious culture with a lot of people that wanted to like go into ministry and build these huge ministries, but weren't willing to do any of the work that it took to grow and build them. In fact, in my church, and this is not a knock on church, this is just my story of how my church, we were just a little dumb at my church, okay? We would spend about 4 hours praying for God to bring new people to our church and never step foot outside of the church to talk to anyone or serve them or, you know, maybe like hand out some meals, or like we wouldn't do anything for anyone in the world, and we would just expect God to just bring them in flocks. And then when they didn't show up, well, people just don't get it, do they? Now, sometimes we do that with our business.
Where to begin? That seems to be a pattern. I just don't know where to start with this guy. But he starts out talking about getting predictable results with, simplified systems. So I'm kind of wondering, is he going to give us all the systems, or is it going to be more of this, a bunch of words, but not much to go by on, well, what do I actually do? If that makes sense, So anyway, he does say this is the leadership system, the 4 M's, the leadership system. And I'm kind of doubting that it truly is, because I'm still thinking you're not really telling people what to do. And that just bothers me. He says to start with the end in mind. That really resonated with me, because as an instructional designer, when I meet with a subject matter expert, an SME, when we're talking about like the course that they want, It's like, what do you want people to be able to do when they leave? That is the end goal, the end in mind. But that never happens in any MLM training, never starting like that. But, he apparently seems to, embrace starting with the end in mind. And even his clients, before he can work with them, he has to know where they're going. I'm kind of wondering, is he able to get them there? Or are they getting themselves there? I just have my doubts about that whole thing. So he does tell us the first thing that you need to do is model. And by modeling, that means you need to produce. So you're modeling for your team because you're getting results. What if you aren't getting results? Then what, dude? How do you get those results? How do you produce? You kind of leave that out and just use a word, produce, model, produce. Where are the action steps? Where is the plan of putting that in place? Where is the practice of said plan? Where's any of that? Because that seems to be very absent. And then he tends to berate them. At least that's how I feel, is that he's berating people, because he talks about his own experience with his church, and they were like just praying to get people there. And he equates that to Beachbody Coaches really not doing the work, just, basically wishing upon a star that people will be there. Because he does say sometimes we do that in business, in our business. He's really getting under my skin. I'm finding this guy really to be annoying in terms of how I just feel like he is condescending to the people he is supposed to be teaching. And that bothers me. That's something that I would never want to do to students, is to make them feel like crap. Because if I was on the receiving end of this stick, I wouldn't be feeling real good about myself. And is that supposed to somehow fire you up and pump you up? That somebody is just being nasty towards you and not really giving you anything that you can do so you can perform better? But we all know people are not going to perform better in MLM because it's impossible to do so. The system is set up against you. All of the MLM training makes me think about a saying in training, and maybe in education. So if you're a classroom teacher, you may have heard this before: the sage on stage with the learner in the cage. Because there's never any time to practice and get feedback. You just hear a bunch of words. Words. You need to be able to practice and receive feedback if you're actually in a learning environment. But it's not about actually people learning anything. It's about getting them to have the belief that they can somehow crack this MLM nut and make it work.
Sometimes we are sitting around praying to God that your business would grow, that you could finally have enough money to pay the bills, or to go on that vacation, or that you would finally have enough people sign up to his success club, or to rank advance. And the reality of it is a lot of people spend a lot more time praying than they do working. I kind of feel like God's like, yo, law of sowing and reaping, just go plant some seeds. Imagine the farmer standing and looking at the ground and being upset that he didn't have any corn this year when he prayed for it every single day. What is wrong here? Sometimes we don't use common sense. Like, you have to be willing to do the work it takes to get the result you want. Can I just say something? I obviously can't have the microphone, I guess. The more you want, the more you have to be willing to do. Okay? And this is one of the reasons when I do team retreats, we always start off with the end in mind. Okay? So I ask people, like, what's the kind of dream life you want? Let's take a second. Can I take a second, Lens? Is that okay? Can we do a little workshop style? Let's talk about what you really want in life. What do you really want? I want you to fast forward like 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, okay? I'm going to give you this magical question that feel free to use with your challengers or your coaches. If I could remove all of the obstacles, all of the pain, all of the effort, and you could just wake up 5 years from now with anything you want, what kind of a life would that be? What kind of money would you make? What kind of house would you live in? What kind of car would you drive? What kind of trips would you go on? What kind of job would you have or not have? What kind of job would your significant other have? What would that life look like? Can you, as you write that down, can you maybe throw some answers over here in the chat for me so that I can see? I want to see what you want for you and your family. And everyone's is going to look different. No one needs to write down Ferrari. If you don't like Ferraris, don't write down Ferrari, okay? If you don't care about having a mansion, maybe you want a farm, okay? Everybody wants different things, and that's fine. Katie says freedom. Okay, give me some examples of what freedom means to you, because it means something different to all of us. Zero debt. House on a lake with a boat, vacation when we want, houses in other states, work less hours, experiences, build my own home, retire my hubby early, lake house, retire from teaching, living in our dream home, travel when we want, 30 plus acres with a house big enough for my 5 kids to bring their families home to. That is gonna be a big house. Marital happiness, new home, backyard oasis with in-ground pool, summer car, my girls playing any sport they want, family vacations, give back without checking my balance, to not miss a single moment in my children's lives, retirement house, retire from teaching, our own home, zero debt, travel, college funds for kids, financially stability, time together with my family. This is some good stuff, guys. This is some really amazing things. Now, can I just tell you something? Every single one of you on this call are capable of having every single one of those things within the next 5 years. Every single one of you are. The question is, are you willing to align your actions with those things? Now, let me just be super clear about this. When I say align your actions, I don't mean work 12 hours a day. That is not what I mean. I might look a little tired in the eyeballs right now, but it is not because I work 12 hours a day. It's because this afternoon I had to deal with some tax stuff, and that always exhausts me. And yes, I'm speaking on 2 calls tonight, but Wednesday night is the only evening you will find me on a call. It's the only night. Okay? I am not about that 12-hour life. What I am about is coming up with a really good system to get the right stuff done in the best way possible. But can we be real for a sec? You guys just told me about a dream life that you really want, okay? And a lot of times we don't show up for our daily tracker, as we run in my group's daily tracker, whatever you call it. We don't show up for it like we really want that. Did you hear me? We don't show up for our to-do list like we really want that. We show up for our to-do list like it's, I don't know, maybe it'll happen today. Maybe it won't. Maybe we'll get there. Honestly, I love you guys to death. I love you so much. But a lot of you show up for your business like your challengers show up for the workouts. I mean, it's like a God called me to be to all of you for your business what you are to your challengers for their fitness. It's one of the reasons I literally run my virtual boot camps like you guys run challengers. I literally ripped off challenge routes for my group trainings. Because I'm like, they don't get it. They don't get it. They get it over here, but they don't bring it over here. They understand that when it comes to a workout, I hope you get this, most of you on the call get this, it doesn't matter what it feels like when I wake up. I got this guy over here that says 1 scoop of this is all I need, 1 scoop of this, and for some of you, some gangster rap. For me, it's a little bit more of I turn on some real hard rock and start headbanging a little bit. But for most of you, you are 1 scoop of Energize and your favorite gangster rap song away from crushing a workout. Correct? You know how to flip that switch because you've done it enough times. It's become your new normal. And when it comes to your business, you haven't taken that same challenge to be the same way. For me personally, I don't think about if I'm going to work my business today. I mean, obviously I do it full time now, but even when it was part-time, even when it was coming home from detailing cars, there was not an, am I going to work today? There was a, I'm going home to work because that's what I do. And some of you need to take that kind of seriousness about it, unless, and maybe some of you are okay with this, and that's okay. Be real weird to be on the team call and be okay with this, okay? But unless you're okay with taking, do you remember how I said we're going to move all the obstacles away? Think about 5 years from now, what you really want, remove all the obstacles, all the pain, all of the time, all of the energy. Here's what I believe. First of all, obviously I do have to go through those things, okay? But I also believe that the pain that I refuse to deal with, I automatically pass off to my kids to have to deal with. Now, if you're okay with passing off your current life to your kids, that's fine. That's fine. Okay? And for some of you, your current morals is exactly what you want to pass off to your kids, and that's great. And your current character is exactly what you want to pass off to your kids. But how many of you would also like to pass off a bank account to your kids? How many of you would also like to pass off some trips to your kids? So how many of you would also like your kids to honestly believe they can grow up to chase their dreams? That only happens if we set the example. We either face our demons or we leave them to our children. It's one or the other. I'm trying to create a life for my kids where they actually believe they can do anything they want. Not just like pretend that Disney said that, and by the age of 15 we start telling them to grow up and mature and figure out, find a real job. I'm trying for them to see, and I can already see it in them. My kids think that working a regular job is real stupid. I love that. Now, they might still have to work one for a couple of years to learn work ethic and to, pay for some car and cell phone and insurance and stuff like that. I plan on making them pay for a lot of their own stuff just to learn the responsibility. Responsibility is always important regardless of how much money you have, or you'll just lose it. But I want to help them. I want them to have the choice. The worst thing in the world as a parent is to have to say no because you have to, not because you chose to. Now I get to say no because I chose to. Daddy, can we eat out tonight? No. Not because we don't have the money, but because we need to have some home-cooked meals every once in a while, or we're all going to be real unhealthy. I try to tell my kids will try to use the money thing on me sometimes. They'll say, yeah, but it only costs this much. And so what I try to do is I try to correct their thinking. I say, I don't care what it costs. That's not the problem. I'm not worried about the cost. I'm making this decision because I think it's a healthy decision and it's better. And I'm literally trying to pull away anything from my kids that makes them think that somehow we make our decisions based on what something costs. I don't want them to think that about anything. We don't make decisions based on cost. We make decisions based on what we value and what we believe is good for us. And if we believe it's good for us to go on a really awesome vacation, then I want to say yes to that. I think there's a lot of really good things in life we should be saying yes to, but we don't have the ability to. John Maxwell says, money will not make you happy, but it does give you options. I just want my kids to have options. I want them to be able to choose what they want to do for a living, not get stuck detailing cars for 9.5 years because it's the only way they can pay the bills. That's real rough, by the way. I really didn't like that. So the first thing we have to do is we have to model like we really want the thing we say we want. We have to model like what we want someone else join our team. I think it was Danielle Natoni that said on the National Wake Up Call like 4 years ago, every night before you go to bed, ask yourself, if my team did what I did today, would they be successful? That's modeling, is showing up and doing what I want my team to do. But I like to take it a little bit further and even say doing what I want based on what I want to give to my family. So, like, if you're in one of my training groups, we don't talk about Success Club 5 per month at all. We talk about Success Club 5 per week. Because, like, let's be real, if you really want that life that you said you want for your family, Success Club 5 per month ain't going to do that. Nobody on this call is building a life by design, making 3 sales per month. And if you can, this probably is a scam. If you can sell, what is it? If you can sell $450 a month in product and become a millionaire, this is a scam and you should run for your life. That's not what anybody's doing. People are showing up and making enough sales and recruiting enough people to get where they want to go. And that's why your monthly goals and your weekly goals need to be based on the kind of life you're trying to create 5 years down the road, not based on the company standard. And by the way, Success Club 5 is not a company standard. It is a company minimum. Too many people are turning it into the standard, but in reality, it's the minimum. That's why we call it Success Starters. Your first 3 months, if you hit Success Club 5, which, by the way, if you're a brand new coach on this call, you hit Success Club 5 your first month, your second month, your third month, that is success. Okay? But after that, you're not a starter. It's time to step up. It's time to actually model the kind of behavior that's going to get you the kind of life you want and also the kind of team you want. Okay? All right, I think I hit on model long enough. I'll give you guys a little bit of a break. And we'll go on to the next two, which is motivate and mentor. I talk about these ones together because we accidentally mix them together so often.
Okay, this guy is really starting to get under my skin. Big time. He starts out this whole thing about, dream of the life that you want, your life by design. And he tells them, oh, that's great, because he has them put it in the chat. And, oh, yeah, those are great things. Every single one of you can have this in 5 years, as long as you align your actions to it. But he's not talking about working 12 hours a day. Oh, yeah, okay. When you're a Beachbody coach, yeah, you work a lot more than that. But he's not saying that. But he is doing his darndest to make them feel guilty, because he continues to berate them. And that's what I have an issue with, is people are taking this abuse from him. Because to me, that's what it is. This is verbal and mental abuse to people who are working hard. Because I know people who have done this. I've done it. I know how hard people work and get no results. It's not for the lack of trying. So he talks to them about, this is what he says. He says they don't show up the way they would if they really wanted it. They show up like their challengers do. And that's another way to get underneath the skin of a Beachbody coach. Because typically when you run your little groups or anything, challengers aren't showing up at all. It's all you. And so he's saying you're showing up like them. I mean, that is so very insulting. But it gets worse, because he talks about not passing off his pain to his children. Do you think that's not going to ring for those, stay-at-home moms, or those women who want to be stay-at-home moms? Yeah, unless, if you really want to do something for your kids, you'll really work your Beachbody business, because you don't want to pass pain off to them. They'll double down and work harder. And that's the whole intent in all of this, is just getting people to work harder and to be in his funnel, because he has all the answers, because he's your push coach. And he said that his kids think having, a normal job, a real job, I guess, I don't remember what he called it, a real job, is stupid. Really? Wow. Then the part that he got to is he did mention one coach, and the person that he mentioned is someone who has been successful. If my team did what I did today, would they be successful? Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because he says that Success Club 5 is becoming, the standard. It should be the minimum. It's the minimum. And my group, my mastermind, we talk about Success Club 20. Let me run those numbers for you. Okay. So if you hit Success Club 20, that means that you are selling 6 to 7 challenge packs. I'm just using challenge packs to make it easy. Yes, you could do it with Shakeology. You could do it in different ways, but I'm just trying to make this as simple as possible just to talk some numbers to you. So roughly, you earn $35 per challenge pack because you get 25% commission. Okay, so if you worked 15 hours a week, that would be 780 hours per year. And you would earn with that, if you did all of these challenge packs, going that after that Success Club 20, $12,740. And at the 780 hours, that's $16 an hour. But if you work 20 hours, that comes out to 1,040 hours that you're working for it, 20 hours a week, at $12.25 an hour. Then if you work 40 hours towards that, that's 2,080 hours. That's $6.13 an hour. At 60 hours per week on this, that's 3,120 hours. That's $4.08. So the bottom line is, the harder you work, the more you work, the less that you earn hourly. You following all of that? Because I can guarantee you, people aren't working just 15 hours. They're working a lot more. And so that $12,740 $40, getting all tongue-tied because I'm getting fired up here. That's not a livable wage. And this just shows you can't do it just selling the products. You got to bring those people underneath you. And if you've seen a video I've done recently, and I ran numbers where how many people that you need to be active underneath you to earn $50,000 before your expenses, you need 177 coaches underneath you in order to do that. They're all active. They're all on Shakeology. How reasonable is that really for everyone who joins? Is that really attainable? No, it's not.
So many times we think motivating and mentoring is the same thing, and that's what makes leadership so hard. Leadership is not hard because it's hard, because it's not. Leadership's not hard. Leadership is hard because we make it hard, because we put expectations on ourselves that we would never put on anyone else, because we put pressure on ourselves that isn't even ours to have, and we basically make it to where the only thing we can possibly do is fail, so that we can manifest our own prophecy. I guess I'm not a very good leader. Now, why would we want to manifest the prophecy that we're not a good leader? Because remember, our limiting beliefs are constantly looking for a story to justify our fears and excuses. Say that again. Our limiting beliefs. It's probably the only quote I've ever coined myself. Everything else is someone else's. It's the only one I got. Our limiting beliefs are constantly looking for a story to justify our fears and excuses. If you're afraid of success, P.S., we all are. That's just part of being human. We're afraid of what we don't know. That's just human, okay? So if you're afraid of it, you'll look for a story that gives you an excuse to not even try. Anybody had a challenger do this? Well, I just don't even have time to work out. 30 minutes? You're not 30 minutes? Anywhere in your day? And then tomorrow you post about how you watched all of season 5 of your favorite show. Okay. Don't have 30 minutes, only have 9 hours. Cool. Got it. Right? How about this? You ever had somebody that had, do we have anyone on the call that has some type of autoimmune disease? Do we have anybody? Okay, I see one person. Probably a couple people. If I scroll through all the pages, we got 4 pages here. Somebody does. How many of you have had, okay, Susan also does. Katie does. How many of you have had challengers try to tell you they can't lose weight because they have an autoimmune disease, right? And yet, we have people right here on the call, a handful, that have autoimmune diseases that have lost weight, right? How many people say, well, I can't lose weight because I'm a mom and I have babies? We've all heard about 1 million stories for why people can't lose weight, correct? As many stories as you have heard about why people can't lose weight, I have heard for why people can't have success, for why people can't be a good leader, for why people will never rank advance. It's all the same. It's just human behavior is let's find the thing that gives me an excuse to not try. So if I'm not charismatic, the first thing I'll do is go follow the most charismatic people in the entire company. All of the introverts on this call probably follow Jatanya Jackson. And they probably watch Jatanya Jackson on her stories every single day, dancing and just going wild. And you sit there and you go, oh, I knew I couldn't do this. I just knew there was no chance for me. Everyone who has small babies will go follow Melissa McAllister, who has grown children, and say, oh, see, people that are successful, they just don't even have kids. Their kids have grown up and moved out of the house. The people who are stay-at-home moms will go follow all of the women who had success while working a career job and say, oh, it's so much easier for women with full-time jobs because they're not stuck with their kids all day and night. And then the people who have careers will say, well, it's easy for stay-at-home moms because they got all day to work. And I just keep trying to figure out when somebody is going to figure out that 50% of you are working moms and 50% of you are stay-at-home moms. So are you telling me that no other working moms have had success? Because I'm pretty sure there is a lot. I mean, there are so many in both. And of course, because I said it that way, there's somebody on this call, I literally heard you. I literally heard you say, well, I don't have kids, so apparently no one even relates to me, because there are people without kids who have also had success, okay? So, let's just throw it out there, regardless of what your story is, it's BS. It's BS. But you will work so hard to prove that story true, because unfortunately, most of us would rather be right than be successful.
I keep on just getting more frustrated and angry listening to this bozo. Oh, this whole thing about you want to manifest your prophecy, so your limiting beliefs are always looking for the excuse, the story, so that you can be right, and that you would rather be right than be successful. How much sense does that make? Because I'm going to go with a great big huge goose egg, and that this is a whole great big huge bucket of hooey and a whole great big huge stack of bologna sandwiches. Just saying, that you'd rather be right than get what you want. I can't believe that he said that. I mean, dude, have you even seen any income disclosures? Have you ran the numbers to see how much you need to sell so that you are successful to have this life by design? Because when you start plugging in those numbers, you start seeing how this is not attainable for everyone. Very few get anywhere. And those that are somewhere are working their butts off. They're not just sitting around having a relaxed time. No, it doesn't work like that. Not at all. It just really, really bugs me. I feel like all he's doing is preaching and yelling at them. It reminds me so much of like just a jankhole of a dad telling you what to do and what not to do, and that you're not good enough, you're not doing enough right now. Because if you really meant it, you'd be putting more into it. And I find that to be just so disgusting.
We'd rather be right than get what we want. Man, being real hard on you guys, but it's only because this is how hard I've been on myself. Okay? I had all of these conversations with myself. I don't have conversations on calls or in books until I've had it with myself first. And this was me, my first year of business, making excuse after excuse after excuse. Well, everyone else on the John Maxwell team is like 75-year-old white guy that's had like 40 years of business experience. And of course, they got business friends. They got all these connections. And I'm over here, former emo rock star, not really rock star, just a local band that no one's ever heard of, trying to connect with people and convince them that here's the guy who a year ago was wearing skinnier jeans than most of your wives and long hair down past his freaking chin. And now I'm trying to convince you to be like, want to be my client? And so in my head, I was just, of course, works for them. I don't have their past. I don't have their experience. I don't have all of these things, their connections. And one day I had to look in the mirror and say, who cares? Do you want to change your kids' lives or do you not? Like, which one are you going to choose? Are you going to keep waking up every single day and excusing yourself? And maybe you can't have the same level of success that they can. Maybe. I don't really know. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But last time I checked, you signed up to do a business to fix your family's problems, not to try to be as good as them. So, are you going to fix your family's problems or try to be as good? Which one do you want to do? At some point, you got to realize that it doesn't really matter, even if maybe you can't ever be as good as Melissa McAllister. Who cares? Were you trying to make $1 million a year, or were you trying to pay for groceries and get your house and get your kids taken care of and send them to college? Which one were you trying to do? Does it really matter if you can actually make $1 million? Is there anyone on this call that actually needs $1 million a year? If you would let that go, honestly, most of you on this call 10 years from now would make $1 million. But the problem is you're judging yourself based on someone else and their credit and what they've worked up to, instead of just saying, I'm just going to go get the next thing that I can get and just build from there. And guess what? Eventually that does lead to $1 million, but we're going to have that kind of pressure today. Okay? So, all of you, because you're worried that you're a bad leader, here's what you do. You mentor people that really aren't even motivated. Now that's just dangerous. That's just real dangerous. How many of you would get on the stock market and look for all of the most struggling businesses to invest your money in because it's like, they need help? Like, I don't want to invest in the businesses that are doing really well. I want to invest in the struggling ones because I'm a good person. Anybody doing that with their money? When you try to mentor unmotivated people, you're doing something even stupider than that. Because you can get more money, but you cannot get more time or more energy. And you just donated your time and energy to a struggling business in the name of helping people. And last time I checked, you didn't start a business to solve everyone else's problems. You started a business because you need to buy groceries. And you want to send people to college. I think someone got unmuted somewhere. I don't know where. Not on page 1. Some other page. You have your family to take care of. And the thing that I need to challenge you to do is to think about your family and the time and energy that you're going to invest. You don't need to be cooking and thinking about stories and thinking about your coach and screaming at your kids. Okay? What you need to do is ask yourself, who deserves me as a mentor. Now, in my business, it's real simple. Pay me X amount of dollars, get X package. Pretty simple. You don't pay me that much money, you don't get that package. Okay? Makes sense? Your business is a little weirder, isn't it? None of you are like, well, if you just go to my site over here and pay $1,000, you'll get one-on-ones with me plus team call. Like, it's not like that. But remember, systems equal what? Predictable results. So while you may not have a website with prices and packages, you need to make some up. Okay? And you need to say, this is what you need to say. I am here to motivate everyone. That's part of the package for signing up for your team. Is you do some type of like lives, you have some type of team resources, they probably get access to a few uplines, right? There's a package that's included, okay? But that package does not have to include texting me at 10 o'clock because you forgot how to use Google, okay? That package does not need to include, oh, you're struggling for the 73rd time this week. Okay, fine, let's get on a call. Mentoring, I want you to think about it like this. Mentoring is, I want you to imagine a bunch of people gathered up at a hill. And everyone's trying to ride their bike up the hill. And if you can just get your bike to the top of that hill, your paycheck is waiting for you. Okay? Now, if you got paid based on how many people you could help get to the top of the hill, would you spend more time pushing people that are already pedaling, getting halfway up the hill and struggling? Or would you find all the people that aren't pedaling just complaining and try to push them up? Which would you do? Is anybody stupid enough to try to push a bunch of people that aren't even pedaling? No. You go find the people that are at least pedaling and making some type, and you realize, you know what? This person might not be able to make it to the top of the hill on their own, but if they're already pedaling and then they get my strength on top of that, I bet we could get this person to the top of the hill. That's just like a logical way to solve the problem, right? Find the people already making progress, help them to make more progress. Stop giving up your time and your energy and your emotions to people who won't even pedal. I don't know if you got that or not. Rob Pearson is my personal Beachbody coach, okay? And reached out to him. We've been friends for a while because I worked with him in Chelsea for a little while. And I reached out to him, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, said, hey man, I just need a higher level of accountability. Currently I just get Shakeology from a random person because I didn't want to pick one of my clients and look like I'm playing favorites. So I just get it from some random person, don't even know who. But I really need some accountability. Can I transfer over to you? Could you be my coach? He's like, yeah, of course, man, of course. So I said, I need someone, I don't want to do challenge group. I run 37 Facebook groups for my business. I don't want to pay. Can we do some time? Can I just text you every day with everything I ate and to let you know what workout I did and just send you a screenshot? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. Right. So here's what happens. Go all in. I rock it. And I had a really bad back injury. Came back from a back injury. Just in the last month, I've been able to start working out again. My head just wasn't quite in the right space this time like it was last time, because last time it was I can do whatever I want. I'm going to show up, I'm going to rock. This time it's I have a back injury. I can't really go all in. I have to do all this modified stuff. I don't like being anything but all the way. And it's been tough, and I've struggled a little bit mentally. And I had several days where it was okay, I'm texting him, and he had to be like, hey, you didn't do this. And I'm I know, sorry. And then I had a little bump where for 4 days I didn't text him at all. First day, he texted me. Second day, third day, fourth day, I got no text. And I knew exactly why, because me and Rob have been friends for a while, and I've taught him the leadership principles that I talk about in my book. And I said to myself, here's the thing. If you're not pedaling, he's not going to push you up the hill. You're going to have to show up several days in a row and text him day after day after day and show him that you're pedaling. And so that's what I did. I said, okay, here we go. I'm going to pedal, and I'm going to text him day after day after day after day, and I don't care if he responds. I'm going to text him to prove to him that I'm worth responding to again. And a week later, guess what? He's texting me about some stuff going on, and boom, fixed. Problem was fixed because I fixed my problem. That's how it should work with mentoring your team. Okay? You help the people that are willing to pedal, but you are not responsible for anyone out there that's not willing to pedal. And too many times, we put the pressure of other people's success on us because of our own insecurity. We think we're not a good leader, so we set out to try to prove it wrong by doing things that we're not really supposed to do, which ends up proving us wrong.
You know, I have probably like a little bit over 20 more minutes of this little shindig here that I just don't think I'm going to be able to sit through it and wrap my head around it because it's hard enough to stomach it as it is. But if you would like me to do a part 2 of this Yahoo, let me know in the comments. But right now I'm going to kind of give you what I'm thinking about this little snippet of it. Let's see, the whole, got to create your own package, That's what you got to do, because for him, unless you get X package, this is what you get. You don't get this. I understand that, but when it comes to being a Beachbody coach, you don't really get to create your own packages per se. I mean, I guess you could say like, well, if you sign up, you get to be in my group and you can check in with me. And then if you actually start making progress on your own, I'll put you in a different group and you can check in with me. I mean, it just becomes, it's such a crock. It is such a crock, because the thing is that most people are pedaling like there's no tomorrow, but they're not getting results. But he doesn't want you to waste your time on the people who aren't pedaling, that you perceive who aren't pedaling, because you're not seeing that they have results. Only spend time on those people who are getting results. And that's exactly what I experienced in Beachbody. Meanwhile, I was working my butt off. Everybody I knew was working their butt off, and we weren't getting results. It didn't come from us not doing the thing. We were doing it hours upon hours upon hours. Nobody wanted what we had to offer because it's MLM, As soon as you wrap your head around the fact that most people don't want to bother with MLM, then you get it. But this guy, if MLM is so great, dude, how come you're not doing it? If you can coach all these people to totally rock their MLM business, why aren't you doing it, Josh? How about them apples? Why aren't you doing it if this is just such a great idea? Because the more money there is the coaching of people who want to be successful in MLM. That's where the money is. It's not being a hun. It's being someone who is going to pick the carcass. Yeah, that's what you're doing. You're picking the carcasses of the people who are desperately trying to make this work. And you're taking money out of their pockets and feeding them the BS that they just have to do X, Y, and Z. Your 4 stupid M's, and then everything's going to be good. And I don't think so. I just don't think so. The whole, I fixed my own problem and everything was right. So that goes back to, for the Huns, the Beachbody coaches, they got to fix themselves. They got to write everything. He has not provided a system. He has not provided action steps. He has not provided scenarios for them to practice and for him to give feedback. There's nothing like that going on. It is the sage on stage with the learner in the cage, and that's it. You're just knowledge dumping. And it's not even knowledge. It is preaching at these people, berating them and abusing them mentally and verbally, in my opinion. Now, let me know what your thoughts and opinions are about this whole thing. And let me know if you want me to do a part 2 on all of this. And I'll put myself back through the ringer listening to this dude. Anyway, thank you so much for spending time with me. I hope you have an amazing day. And remember, you're beautiful and I love you.